I mean, in terms of your work, do you kind of refer to the characters in the other Bournes? Are you conscious of this?
Yeah. Well, very much so, because specifically the way Tony's crafted it, the characters in this film are watching the events of the end of the last film take place and then reacting to them. So it's not just a nod to it, it's actually threaded together with it, and a lot of the characters in that film appear in this one as well.
I mean, is Bourne becoming a sort of American takeover of James Bond?
Yeah, maybe we needed one of our own, sort of a super spy for the 21st century.
You know, in R1, the Secret Service are like the good guys,
right?
Whereas CIA is seldom the good guys.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that Tony, as the author who has pulled the thread through all of these, Tony is possessed of no small amount of conspiracy paranoia, and I say that only in the best way.
I mean, how close do you think that is to reality? Do you think that
well,
America works for corporations?
Well, you do have to, the degree to which we're outsourcing and private contracting a lot of what we would traditionally have called our military and defense and research and development work. I don't think there's any doubt that even if you look at things like the Blackwater fiascos that the U.S. military went through in Iraq, or the degree to which we've started outsourcing to the pharmaceutical companies a lot of the experimental research and development stuff, it's clear that corporations with large contracts have a voice in the government.
I mean, there's a character called Bane, isn't there?
There is.
Is that anti-Romney?
Well, it was sort of before he, these things, we prepped these things. I think it was a nice coincidence.
You spotted Obama very early on, or relatively early on, just when he was a senator. Are you one of those who's now disillusioned?
No, I'm not disillusioned with Obama. I think he remains a deeply thoughtful, deeply committed leader who's, I think that in the balance, he's achieved an enormous amount.
I mean, you must get a lot of your friends and contemporaries, colleagues saying that they are disillusioned or he hasn't done anything.
Well, without calling people out, I think I would, as clinically as I can observe it, I would say that it's interesting to note that the people who are the most disillusioned are the people in the wealthiest classes in the U.S. I think there's a perception that a kind of class warfare is starting to be waged, and some people are taking that personally. Whereas I just don't think they should. I think it's a.
What do you mean over taxes, basically?
Yeah, but it's a ludicrously short-sighted read on U.S. history to suggest in any way that the wealthy in America are being asked to bear an undue burden. We're
So what you're saying is that actually these are wealthy Hollywood types.
Yeah.
They don't like the taxes.
Well,
but they say, oh, well, he's not been liberal enough.
No, actually, I wouldn't say my friends in the entertainment industry. I would say more I live in New York, so it's more my friends in the finance industry, those who get the 15% carried interest tax rates through the hedge funds that they run. Those are the ones who I think are stepping across the line.
What about on an area where you've worked a lot and you were at Rio 20 this time around? I mean, the environmental area, good. What's his report card like there?
I think mixed. I think in fairness, I think that with the deck of cards that he was handed, he had understandably perhaps some things that they felt politically they needed to prioritize in terms of stabilization of the economy. The auto industry, the healthcare issue. There's dealing with these wars. There's been a lot to deal with.
Do you think Obama's going to get reelected?
I do, yeah, I do, because I think that personally, I just don't think that there's. I don't think the other side's plans hold up on the math. I just don't think the math works.
Okay, two finally totally unrelated questions. One, playing at soccer at Old Trafford. I mean, how does that fit in with being?
I think it was one of the, for every person who invades your dinner with a flashbulb, that's what I would call the quid pro quo of fame. The getting invited to play on that pitch with those people, with Roy Keane. Like that's a pretty strong trade for anything one might